Tyranny doesn't start with soldiers in the streets, with censorship, or with a dictator shouting orders. It starts quietly, with rules that feel reasonable, with systems that promise safety, and with people looking around and saying, "This makes sense." And that's exactly the danger, because that's how it begins. Tyranny doesn't arrive by force alone. It becomes possible when responsibility disappears, when ordinary people slowly stop feeling involved. We like to think tyranny is an accident in history, a mistake that happens somewhere else, a glitch caused by one bad person gaining too much power. That idea is comforting because it means we don't have to look at ourselves. We can tell ourselves that all we have to do is pick better leaders. But reality is less comforting. Tyranny isn't only about who rules. It's about what lies underneath. Systems, circumstances, and the way normal people adapt to pressure. In this video, we're not studying tyrants as individuals. We're studying what makes them possible and why societies accept it. Not because people are stupid, but because in the moment it all feels logical, until it's too late. Before we go any further, thank you for being here. If you find value in videos that take their time and go deeper than the headlines, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps us reach people who are looking for the same kind of thoughtful, long-form analysis. We often think tyranny begins with a strong leader taking control, as if power comes first and support only comes later. History shows the opposite. What usually comes first is instability and uncertainty, economic pressure, social tension, and the growing feeling that the rules no longer work. In times like that, people don't crave freedom as much as they crave certainty. They want order. They want things to make sense again. That isn't weakness. It's human. It's how we react to chaos. But here the door opens. When stability matters more than disagreement, power starts to look attractive. A leader doesn't need to force obedience at first, because the desire for order already does the work. People aren't always tricked. They often choose simplicity on purpose, because complexity becomes exhausting when life feels unstable. Most systems begin with good intentions: efficiency, safety, stability. The problem isn't systems themselves. The problem is what they become over time. As they start protecting themselves first, slowly, the goal changes. The system begins to matter more than the values behind it, and survival becomes the priority. That's when a deeper shift happens. Decisions stop being about what is right and become about what follows the rules. Procedure replaces justice, and power learns how to hide behind neutrality. No one feels responsible anymore. Everyone is just following process, just doing the job. And this doesn't happen only in dictatorships. It happens anywhere people say, "That's just how the system works." At that point, the system becomes a shield, not against chaos, but against conscience. Tyranny doesn't need to shout. It often works best when it's quiet, when it feels normal. Bureaucracy turns power into something abstract. Decisions are spread across departments and procedures, so no one ever sees the full result. A form approved here, a checkbox there, a decision made higher up. The danger isn't efficiency, it's the loss of responsibility, the splitting of moral weight. When consequences are divided into small steps, no one feels accountable for the whole. And that's the trap. This isn't about blaming workers. It's a structural problem, a system design problem. The larger the system becomes, the smaller responsibility feels. And when responsibility feels small, people do things they'd never choose consciously. One of the most common defenses is simple, but it's legal, as if law and morality are the same thing. They aren't. Laws reflect power, interests, and compromise. They are necessary, but they are not neutral. When oppression operates within the law, it feels legitimate. not because it's just, but because it's approved. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Oppression works best when it's legal. Illegal actions provoke resistance. Legal actions feel normal, and normal is hard to fight. This is where a society's moral compass breaks. The question stops being, is this right? And becomes, is this allowed? Once that shift happens, power becomes much harder to challenge because it's wrapped in rules. No oppressive system survives without fear, but it's rarely extreme fear. It's usually quieter. Fear of losing work, fear of losing status, fear of standing out. This kind of fear works because it feels rational. People don't have to believe the system is good. They only have to believe resistance is risky. And we need to be honest about something. Most people are not heroes, and societies can't run on heroism. That doesn't make people bad. It makes systems that demand constant courage unstable. And tyrants understand that. People are shaped less by power than by the behavior of others. We watch what's safe. When speaking out is punished and conformity is rewarded, people adapt, often without realizing it. The danger isn't the first silence, it's the second. The silence that becomes routine. The first time people stay quiet out of doubt, the second time out of habit, and then it simply feels normal. Eventually, speaking up feels strange, even disruptive, like you're the problem. At that point, tyranny doesn't need force. It maintains itself through social pressure and expectation. This is hard to accept, but true. Most systems survive because enough people decide it's not their fight. Crises justify exceptions. Exceptions create precedents, and precedents tend to become permanent. What was meant to be temporary often becomes the new normal, and it happens fast. This isn't always a conspiracy. It's how systems respond under pressure. During crisis, powers grow, oversight weakens, and criticism gets pushed aside. The problem isn't the first emergency measure. The problem is what happens after, because systems rarely give power back. And almost no one asks the key question: who watches power when fear controls the conversation? One of the most comforting beliefs is, this could never happen here. But tyranny doesn't happen because a society is uniquely evil. It happens because human behavior is predictable when pressure rises. The difference between us and them is rarely moral. It's situational. Different stress, different fear. Believing you are immune is the fastest way to stop paying attention, and that's exactly when systems become dangerous. Tyranny isn't a monster from the past. It's a constant possibility when systems and fear reinforce each other. Not because people are evil, but because systems aren't built for moral tension. So the real question isn't, how do we stop tyrants? It's this: what kind of systems allow everyone to say, I was just doing my part, when power goes too far? Because as long as we only blame bad leaders, we keep missing the real support structure, the systems that carry them. If this video made you pause or reconsider something you've taken for granted, that's exactly why we make these videos. You can support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this with someone who enjoys thinking beyond the surface. Thank you for watching and for staying curious.